In this video, I'm going to show you how to integrate HighLevel with Airtable so that we can create a sales call tracking dashboard so we can track our appointments that we've booked. We can track the show up rate of those appointments. We can track the offer rate of those live calls, and then we can track the close rate of those calls. So we can track all that and we can see where the bottleneck is in the process, whether it's we're not booking enough appointments, we're not getting them to show up, we're not offering enough, we're not getting the right type of people on there, so we're not offering enough, or we're not closing. And then we can really zero in on that and fix that issue. So the first thing that we want to do when setting this up is we want to create our table. So this is base in Airtable, and we're going to create the table. We're calling it the sales call tracker, and we're going to just create our fields that we need. And so we're starting from scratch. So I'm going to come back to the primary field here in just a second, but the first one we're going to create is going to be name. That's just going to be a single line text here, and then we're going to create that field. Next one's going to be call date. So this is the actual date of the call or when it's scheduled for. Okay, so I'm going to make that a date. So I'll just search for that here and I'll click date. I'll just create the field. And then the next one's going to be booked on date. So this is actually when the day that the actual appointment was booked. So not the actual date of the call, but the day it was booked. So this is going to be another date. So I'm going to search for that field and select that. And I'm going to click create field. Next one is going to be our appointment status. And we're just going to use the ones, and we're going to create a single select here. We're going to use the statuses from HighLevel. So this is going to be confirmed. It's going to be canceled, going to be no show, and the final one's going to be showed. And then I'm going to make that W, and then I'm going to click create field. And then the next field is going to be offer made. So this is where we track whether the offer was made on the call or not. So the reason that we track this is because if we're getting a lot of calls, but we're not making offers on those calls, then that means the people that we're getting on those phone calls are not very qualified. Okay? So that's a qualification issue. So we're going to track that. So create that field. And then the next thing is the result. So I'm going to say the result of the call. So we're going to make this another single select, and we're going to make this first one sale. And I'm just going to make that green. And then the other one's going to be follow-up booked. So that's the next one down from sale. So got a follow-up book, and then we've got follow-up needed. So this is somebody we want to follow up with and try to get it scheduled. And then this one is going to be not a good fit. This is for people that aren't qualified, aren't a good fit. So I'm just going to make that one red. And then the last one is going to be no action needed. I'm just going to change that to another red. So now we've got our result in there. And then the next thing we need is going to be sales call by. So this is going to help us to track our different reps if we've got multiple reps. So this is going to be a user select, and say no, I'm not going to notify them. And then I'm going to do booking source so we can track where these calls are coming from. And that's going to come directly from HighLevel. I'm just going to create the single select or single line text for that. And then we're going to do phone number, and that's going to be single line text as well. Create that field. And then the next one is going to be email, and that's going to be single line text. And then the next one's going to be GHL appointment ID. So this is where we can actually find the record in Airtable for the appointment. So let's say you confirmed an appointment, but then they canceled. We want to be able to find the correct appointment in Airtable so we can just change the status instead of creating a whole new record in the Airtable, if that makes sense. So that's going to be the GHL appointment ID. Then we're actually going to have the GHL ID for the actual person. So that's going to be another single line text. That way we'll be able to track the contact record. I'm just going to make a contact URL. So this is going to be, I'll actually make this GHL contact URL. And this is going to be the actual URL of the contact. That's going to pull basically from here, so this URL up here. So it's going to be from this point on, and we're automatically going to put the contact ID at the end of it. All right, I'm going to create that field, and now we've got our table set up. The next step is to set up our HighLevel workflows. All right, so we're in my white label of HighLevel. So we're going to go on the left-hand side here and scroll down to automation, and then we are going to go into strategy calls. Now I already have this workflow set up, so we'll just kind of walk through it. I call it appointment tracking Airtable. I'm going to click into this, and we're going to go through it step by step. The first thing that we want to do is we want to set up our triggers. So if you have a sales call calendar, basically the triggers are going to be the different statuses. Basically what you do is you choose appointment status here, so you can search for that in the search bar there. You can choose choose appointment status. The event type is just going to be normal. And then the filter that we're going to add is appointment status is. And then for this one, you can do confirmed is the first one, but this is canceled. And then we want to choose in calendar, and we want to choose our sales call calendar that we are booking calls with. Once you have that set up, you're going to click save. The next one is going to be same thing. We're going to search for appointment status, and then you can name it no show. You can name this one canceled, so you know which triggers are which. Again, event type is going to be normal. In calendar is going to be the calendar for your sales calls, and then the appointment status for this one, since it's no show, is going to be no show. And then I will cancel this. Actually, you know what? Since it has that dash in it, we're actually going to go back to our Airtable and make a little edit here, because we need the status to be exactly like it is in GHL. So it's got that little dash in it. We're going to go back here, and I'm going to click save. Kind of glad that happened so I could show it to you. So now next trigger is going to be our showed trigger. Again, we're going to choose appointment status, so you can search for it as a trigger, appointment status, and then you can name it appointment status showed. Event type is normal. Ooh, I did forget to choose the calendar here. So the next filter is going to be in calendar, and then we will select strategy call. And so now appointment status is showed in the strategy call. We click save for that. Since I made some edits, I'm going to click save, and then we need to save the workflow. And then the next trigger is going to be our confirmed trigger. So again, appointment status is the trigger. We can name it appointment confirmed. Event type is going to be normal. Appointment status is confirmed. And these are all lowercase too. That's another thing. So I want to make sure that they're exactly like what they are in Airtable. I'm just going to go back over here. That is interesting. So no show is capital, show is capital, confirmed, and canceled. Okay, go back over here. Let's go to status, and no show has to be capitalized, confirmed and canceled are lowercase. So I'm going to save that, and then we're going to go back over here, and we're going to save that trigger if you haven't already. So now we have a trigger for when the appointment is canceled, when the appointment is no show, when the appointment status is showed, and when the appointment status is confirmed. The first thing that I'm going to create is we're going to create an if or else action. So to do that, you would just click on the plus button. There won't be anything when you're first setting this up. So you'd click the plus button, and then you would search for if else, and you would select that. And then let's set up this if else action. So I'm going to click in here, and we can name it appointment status, because those are our triggers. And basically what we're doing is we're creating a different branch for each one of these triggers. So the first one's going to be the confirm trigger. So I would name that branch confirmed, and then we would just add the condition that the workflow trigger, which is up here, is appointment confirmed. And so that's going to be this branch over here. And then we're going to, there's a little button here. I'll show you at the bottom. You can click another branch, and then we would add this next branch, which is going to be canceled. And then we would select the condition to be workflow trigger is appointment canceled. Then we would add another branch, call that no show. And then the workflow trigger is appointment no show. And then the final one would be workflow trigger, add another branch. And then the workflow trigger is appointment status show. Once you have that set up, this is the if else action. You'd click save, and then you would save your workflow. Then you would have these branches, and then we need to create the actions underneath these branches. So all of these, I'm not going to set this one up. That's just a different conversation basically. But basically what we're going to do to push all of these new contacts that book a call into Airtable and change the statuses for those appointments is we're going to create a Airtable webhook. So I'm going to click into here, and I'm going to show you how this works. Basically, let me go back here for a second. Underneath the different actions here, or the different branches here, you would click the plus button. We would click webhook, and then we would select this webhook here. So now I'm going to click on my Airtable webhook here. So it would just say webhook. I'll name this Airtable webhook, and you could say confirmed, since this is the confirmed branch. Now the method is going to be post, and then where are we going to get this URL? So I'm going to go back over to Airtable, and if we go into automations, this is where we will find the webhook. What we're going to do is the trigger here. So we go to automations. Let's just call this GHL confirmed appointment. So our trigger is going to be our webhook, when webhook received, and then that is where we're going to grab this URL. So I'm going to click copy here, and so this is basically a new setup. So I'm going to actually paste this in. That's going to be our webhook that's going to post the information from the appointment into Airtable. And then you need to set up this custom data, and basically how you do that is you just click, there probably is going to be one item here, and then if you wanted to add additional items, you just click add another item, and then you give it a name, and then you will pull the value, and I'll show you how to do that. So basically this is going to pull the name of the person booking the appointment, and then to grab this little custom value here, you just click this little tag, and that's going to be contact and full name. So that's going to pull the name, and then our next one's going to be the appointment date. So you would name it appointment date, and then where we're going to pull this value, again, we're going to click on this little tag here, and we're going to go go to appointment, and then we're going to choose start date time. So that's going to be the appointment time, and then the source. So this is going to be the contact source. So we can actually come in here and we can select contact, and then we can go down to source here, and that's going to add that value in there. Last attribution. So if you're running ads, this is going to be super helpful, and you would add a field to your table to pull this in, but this is going to give us the last attribution. So where did that last click come from when they booked the appointment? Last attribution is the name. I'll click on the tag, and then we will go to attribution here, and then we'll go to latest, and then I believe it's going to be session source. So I'm going to click this tag again, and I'm going to go down to attribution. I'm going to go to latest and just click session source. That's going to bring in the last source that person clicked on when they actually ended up booking a call. And then we can also bring in campaign. So if you're running ads, you can put campaign here, and let's grab this. So we click tag, we'd go down to attribution, we would click latest campaign, and that will bring in that latest campaign that they clicked. And then ad set. So this will be the medium. So HighLevel has a whole way that you're supposed to set up your UTM parameters when you set up ads. I can link to that if you guys want it. And then basically we're going to name this ad set, and then we're going to click on the tag again. We're going to go to attribution, and then latest, and then medium here. And then same thing for the ad. It's going to be content. And so for ad, we would name it ad, and then we would grab the tag here and go to attribution, and then latest, and then it would be UTM content. That's going to bring in all our ad information. Now we want to bring in the actual sales rep's name. So this is going to be user added. And to find this person, we're going to click on the tag, or this value, we're going to click on the tag, and then we're going to do user, or actually appointment, sorry. And then we're going to scroll down to assigned user, and then we're going to put in full name. And then the next one we're going to use is user assigned email. So this is going to be the email of the person that's assigned to this particular appointment. And so to find that, we're going to click on the tag again, and we're going to scroll down to appointment, scroll down to assigned user, and then click on email. And so now we have the sales rep that assigned to that appointment, and then the appointment status finally. And it looks like I actually put this in manually. So you can actually put it in manually, and you can capitalize the actual C here. So I'm going to go back to Airtable, make that little adjustment. I'll click on data here, and then I will go back to status, and I'm just going to make these changes. So I'm going to capitalize these C's, and let's click save. And you can see we've actually just written this in. We're not using a tag here, a custom value. All right, so now we want the email and the phone number of the person that booked the call. So we'll name this email, and then we'll grab the actual value by clicking that little tag, click contact, and then email. And then for the phone number, you'll do the same thing. You'll type in phone, and then we'll grab the tag here, which will be contact, and then phone, and that will add the value for the phone number. And then booked on date. Okay, so booked on date is going to be right now, because when they book, it's going to go into this workflow automatically. So basically I'm going to grab this tag, click on the tag here, and then I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to click on right now, and then I'm going to, I believe it's date, day, month, year. I believe that's it. And then we're going to add the GHL ID. And did I use, yeah, we've already, I also need to add the appointment ID actually. So you'll get to see me adding another column here. The next thing we want to do is we want to add the GHL ID. That's going to be, let me click on this tag, and we're going to go to contact, because this is the contact's GHL ID. I'm going to click on ID there. And the next one is going to be the contact link. And so I remember I showed you where that came from. So it would go all the way, you'd grab the URL from just a regular contact record, paste it in here. And then right at the end, after detail / you're going to add the contact ID. So you'd come here to the end of where that / is. And then we'd click on the tag here, and we'd go to contact, and then we'd go to contact ID, and it would add their ID at the end of that link, and then you'd have a direct link to that person's contact URL. I'm going to click save. And then what I would probably do is just duplicate this. So copy action, and then move copy one over to canceled, and then just make some minor changes. And then we're going to set up the webhook for cancel. That's going to be for, we're going to go back to our automations here, and that's going to be for confirmed, and we'll come back to setting this up later. So I'm going to duplicate that, and we're going to call this one appointment canceled appointment. And then we'll grab the webhook for this. So this is going to be a different webhook. So we'll copy that and we'll head back over to our automation, and I'll click in here and I'll paste in that webhook. And actually the only thing that we need to add or change with these additional branches is just the appointment status. So because all the other information should stay the same, the only thing that changes is the appointment status. For custom data, we would just say appointment status, and for canceled, we'd say canceled, and then we'd click save and then save it. And then same thing for the no-show. So you could just copy this over and then you would delete all the custom data. And let's grab another webhook. So I'm going to click this, I'm going to click duplicate, and then we're going to call this GHL no-show. Okay. And then you would grab the webhook here, copy that, head back over to HighLevel, paste that in. And then we would change the appointment status here to no-show for this one, and then save that. I would duplicate this one more time. So copy that, copy the action, copy over here. And the only thing that I would keep is appointment status, and I would change that to showed. I need to grab the URL to the webhook here. So I'm going to go back to the automations of my table here. I'm just going to duplicate this one, and then we're going to rename this one to be showed. And then we'll click into the webhook here. We'll grab the URL of that webhook, and then we'll go back to HighLevel automation, paste that in, click save, and I'll click save again on the automation. And let's just make sure that in the settings that we've got allow re-entry, it is on. So if it's not on, toggle that on and then resave your workflow. Now we have all of our automations created so that when somebody books an appointment, cancels an appointment, no shows, or shows up for an appointment, then that is going to send any of those actions or triggers are going to send a webhook into the appropriate automation in Airtable, and then we're going to trigger actions as a result of that. So let's head back over to Airtable and let's go to our automations. You can see our webhooks here for confirmed, canceled, no show, and showed. And so let's work on the GHL confirmed appointment automation. So we've got our trigger in here. So that's when a webhook is received. And then we want to set up our actions that happen as a result of that trigger. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to click this link here, and then we're going to use find record. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at our database and see if we see any records that match a certain thing that we're pulling in, a certain item that we're pulling in from the webhook. I'm going to select the table that we're working in, which is the sales call tracker. And then we're going to find the records based on a condition. And that condition is going to be where the appointment ID, GHL appointment ID contains, and let me scroll over here. And so we're going to pull in the appointment ID from the webhook when somebody books an appointment. And we want to check and see if there's any records in our database that match that appointment ID. And we'll match it up towards that. And we can either update the record if it is in there, or we can create a new record. So I'm going to click the little gear here, and then we're going to select dynamic and then contains, and then I'll click the little button here, the little plus button here. And then what we're going to do is we're going to find the appointment ID from the information from the webhook. So I'm going to click the body here, then we're going to scroll down and we're going to find calendar, and then we'll find appointment ID. So this is the ID of the actual appointment that has been booked. I'm going to select that. And then now what we're going to do is we're going to test action, and there shouldn't be any records found because we don't have any records in the database yet. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create another action that's going to be conditional logic. It's going to look at those records and see if there was a record that matched. If there is, it's going to update the record. If there's not, we're going to create a new record. So we're going to run this action if this in this group if, and we're going to look at find our records, and then we're going to find the field values, and we're going to scroll all the way down to GHL appointment ID, and then we're going to see if the list of records that we have in our database, if any of the GHL appointment IDs match the one from the incoming webhook. So we're going to click this gear again. I'm going to click dynamic, and then we're going to click this little blue plus button, and we're going to select the webhook received action or step. Then we're going to select body, and then we're going to scroll down again to calendar, and then we're going to again find the appointment ID. So this is saying if there's any records in our list that the field GHL appointment IDs matches the appointment ID that's being brought in from the new webhook trigger, then this action is going to actually trigger. So let's test this condition. It shouldn't have anything. So okay, so it didn't go through because we don't have one that fits that mold. So what we're going to do is if there is one that matches, we're just going to update that record. And so what we're going to do is we're going to select the table here, select call tracking, and then we're going to find the Airtable ID. So I'm going to find the record. I'm going to select that step, and then we're going to select Airtable record. So it'll grab from this step. If it did find one, then we've got an Airtable record ID associated with that particular record. record. And so we want to update that particular record. So it's going to, we're going to put the record ID in there, and then we're going to choose the field that we want to update. So I'm going to select status here. And since this is a new booked appointment, it's going to be confirmed. So I'm going to select confirmed, and then it would generate preview. And I don't think we have anything, so it's not going to work. But if we did have a record in there where the appointment ID matched the new incoming appointment, then we would update it to confirm. All right, so now what we're going to do is we are going to add another condition, and this is going to say otherwise if conditions are met, and this is going to be where GHL appointment ID is empty. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the find record step, and then I'm going to go to field value, and then I'm going to go to GHL appointment ID, and then is empty, and then that's going to be the action for this step, and this is going to be to create a new record. I'm going to create a record, and then I'm going to click on here, and then we're going to select the table that we're working in, which is sales call tracking, and then we're going to create the field, and then we're going to create all of the information from the webhook. So I'm going to click on name, and we'll select the incoming webhook for that. So it's going to be full name here, and then what we're going to do is we are going to get the call date, and so to do that, we're going to click the little gear here, and then we're going to click dynamic, and then we'll click the little plus here, and we'll go to body, and then we'll go to calendar, and then we're going to find the appointment date. So start time here is going to be the call time, our call date, and then we're going to add our next field, which is going to be booked on date. I'm going to click on the gear here again. I'm going to click dynamic, and then we're going to click the plus sign again, and I'm going to go to body from the webhook, and then we're going to go to calendar, and then we are going to bring in, I believe it's, let's see, created by Meta. Let me see where this information, this might be, not be the calendar, because I think this is a custom data that we set up. So we're going to scroll all the way down to custom data, and it's going to be, let's see, booked on date here. So I'm going to select that. I don't know why that space is there, but it should be fine. All right, so now we're going to do status, and we'll just select confirmed here, the first one. And then the next thing is we don't have to do anything with offer made or result. That's going to happen after the call. We do have to do sales call by, and then we will select, let's see if we can make this dynamic and pull in the information from the webhook. So I'm going to click the plus here, and then we're going to select the webhook step. We're going to select body the custom data, because I think we created that ourselves. I'm going to go to custom data, and then I'm going to go to user assigned. So I'm going to select that, and then we're going to add our next field, which is going to be booking source. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to click the plus sign here, and I'm going to make sure I'm on the webhook received step. Click the body, and we're going to go, and it's going to be custom data again, and it's going to be source, and then we'll add our next field, which is going to be phone number. So I'll click the plus button again, webhook received step, and then we can just scroll down to the phone number, and then we can add the email. Click on the plus body and scroll down to email, and then the GHL appointment ID, we can put that in there. So I'm going to select that field, go to the body, and this is going to come from the calendar. So we're going to go to calendar here, and then we're going to go scroll down to appointment ID, and then we'll bring in the GHL ID, and that's going to be webhook received, body, and then contact ID. And then the next thing that we'll create is going to be the GHL contact URL, and then we can click the plus here, click the webhook received step, body, and then scroll down to custom data. And if we scroll down again, we should have a GHL contact link here. And now we've got all of our information set up to push this in record when somebody books a call into our Airtable table. So I'm going to click run as configured. I'm going to click run test, and that should create our record for us. So let's go back to our database now. I'll switch this on, but let's go to our table here, and let's see what we got. So you can see we now have a confirmed appointment from Ron Medlin, call date 6/11, booked on date, then status, we didn't set anything up for offer made or result because that's after the call happens. Sales call by Ron Medlin, booking source, strategy call, phone number, email, GHL appointment, GHL ID, GHL URL. Now I want to actually edit this primary field to bring in the name and the call date. And so that's going to help us to track things later on. So what I want to do here is I want to click edit field, and then I want to make this a formula, and I have this formula elsewhere. So let me just grab this real quick. I'm going to paste this in. I can drop this in the description if you guys want it, and then we'll click save. And now, okay, so I've got this emoji in here, so I've got to delete that out because I didn't put it into this table in the field that I created, and I didn't put the phone emoji in there either. I like to use emojis, and this is how mine is set up, so I just copied this from my table. So I'm going to click save, and now we have the name and the date of the actual appointment, so we can see, who this is and what the date of the appointment is. So now let's go back to our automation, and the next thing we're going to do is set up our GHL canceled appointment automation. All right, so we have our webhook bringing in the information when somebody actually cancels the appointment. So now let's set up the actions that we need to happen as a result of that. So I'm going to click again this add advanced logic or action. First step that I'm going to do here is find records. So we're going to find the record with appointment ID just like we did before, and then we're just going to update the status of that record. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to select the table, which is going to be our sales call tracking, and then we're going to find records based off of a condition, and then that condition is going to be where the appointment ID contains, and then we'll click on this gear, make it dynamic, and then click this plus button. And then we're going to look at the information brought in from the webhook received, and actually there's nothing happened yet. So what I need to do actually before we test this thing out is we need to come into HighLevel, we need to go to calendars, we need to go to appointments, and then find the appointment that we just booked. And what I'm going to do in here is I'm going to actually move that or change that status to canceled, and then once that's updated, I should be able to bring in the webhook, to trigger the webhook, and then bring in that information into Airtable. All right, so now the status has been changed to canceled. Now let's head to our Airtable automation, and then we want to click on the webhook received, and then we want to test the trigger. And so we should have a successful, let's try it again. Okay, so step successful. So now that webhook of the appointment cancellation has been triggered. Now we can bring in that information into this step here. We're finding a record, and we're trying to see if there's an appointment ID in our list of records that contains the same appointment ID from the webhook. So I'm going to click this little gear, and then I'm going to click on dynamic, and I'm going to click this plus button. We're going to look at the webhook that was just received. We're going to click on body, and then we're going to go down to calendar, and then we're going to find the appointment ID, and then what we're going to do is we're going to test this action to see if there's an appointment. Should have an appointment in there. Okay, so yep, see, this is the appointment we booked in the previous step. So now what we're going to do is we are going to update this record. So I'm going to click on the link here to add another action, and then we're going to click update the record, and then we're going to select the table we're working in, which is sales call tracking. We're going to find the record ID from this step. So I'm going to click this button here, and I'm going to click on find records, and we're going to scroll down to Airtable record ID, and then we're going to choose the field that we're going to update, which is going to be our status, and then we can just update this to canceled. So we'll update it to canceled, and then we will run as configured, and what should happen, if you see, we've got this appointment is confirmed, it should change to canceled here in just a second when we run it. So I'm going to run the test, and let's see if this goes through. So now let's head over to our table, and you can see that now the status has been changed to cancel. Let me change these colors because I want them to be a little bit more different. So I'm going to make this red, and then no show, we'll make this one yellow, something like that. And I'll click save, and so now we've got a canceled appointment. So now let's continue to do this same thing with the no show and the showed. Okay, so I'm going to turn this on whenever you've got it ready, and then we're basically going to duplicate these same things. Actually, you know what we could do? Let me grab this. I'm going to copy this webhook right here, and what I'm going to do is just duplicate this automation to make this easier. So I'm going to change this to no show. I'll just keep it lowercase so it doesn't say that there's you already have one named the same. Okay, never mind. So I'm just going to say no show 2. All right, so now all we need to do is come in here, and actually I cannot paste that webhook. Never mind. Let's just do it from scratch again. Let me go to our no show. So what we're going to do is we are going to actually now change our appointment in HighLevel to no show, so we can bring in that or trigger that webhook. So I'm going to change this to no show, and once that status is changed, now we should be able to trigger this webhook here. So I'm going to scroll down, I'm going to click test trigger. So step successful. So we've got our webhook for a no show has been triggered. Now we need to do the same thing we did in the previous step, and we're going to click find records, and then we're going to use the table sales call tracking. We're going to find the records based on condition where our appointment ID matches what we brought in from the webhook. So I'm going to click this gear, we're going to click dynamic, click the plus button, and then we'll select the when webhook received step, click on the body, and then we'll scroll down to calendar here, and then again we're going to find our appointment ID, and then now we're going to test that action. We should find a record, right, because this is the one we've been working with. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add an advanced logic or action. So then we're going to create update or select update record. We're going to select the table we're working in, sales call tracking. Then we're going to find the Airtable ID from the records that we just found, and then we are going to choose the Airtable record ID, and then the field that we're going to update is status, and then we're going to change this. This is our no-show, so we're going to change it to no-show. Now when we test this, it should change the status here to no-show. Let's try that. So I'm going to run as configured, run the test, and then you can see that it's changed it now to no-show. So we need to now set up our showed automation. So I'm going to turn that on, and then we're going to go to GHL showed appointment, and we've got our webhook already set up, receiving information, and we need to head over to HighLevel. We need to change the status of the appointment to showed. Click update. Once that status is updated, we can go test the webhook trigger. Status is updated. Let's go back to our automation. Let's scroll down. Let's test the trigger, and let's try one more time. All right, so now step is successful. Let's set up our automation actions. I'm going to click on advanced logic or action. We're going to do find records again. And what are we going to do here? We're going to do sales call tracking table. We're going to find records based on a condition. That condition is, anybody got any guesses? Appointment ID contains the information brought in from the webhook. So we're going to click on the gear here. We're going to click dynamic, click the plus button, and we're going to select the webhook receive step, click on body here, and then we're going to scroll down to calendar and then appointment ID, and then we're going to test this step. We should find a record because that's the same one we've been working with. And now we're going to update that record. So we're going to click on the add advanced logic or action, going to click update record, and then we're going to select the table we've been working in, sales call tracking. We're going to find the record from the find records step. We're going to scroll down. We're going to click find values. So we're going to find the record, and then we're going to add the record ID here, and then we're going to update the field status. And we're going to change that to showed. Once we run as configured, this should change from no show to showed. We're going to run that test. And now if we head over to our tracker, now we've got the status shows. So now we have all of our GHL appointments being pushed into Airtable. Every time a status is changed for that particular appointment, it's going to be updated and reflected in Airtable. So now what we want to do is we want to build an analytics dashboard so that we can track the performance of our sales call process. Track how many appointments are being booked. We can track the show up rate. We can track the offer rate, the close rate, revenue generated, and we can track cash collected. So to do that, we're going to add a few more fields to the sales call tracking table. So I'm going to go to the sales call tracking table. I'm going to go to the end here, and I'm going to click the plus. And this first field we're going to add is currency. And this is going to be new revenue. So this is the expected revenue, the total expected revenue that we're going to generate from a sale. I'm going to create that field. The next field I'm going to create is another currency field. And this is going to be cash collected. So this is the cash that we collect up front from the expected total revenue. So cash collected. And I'm going to create that field. And then the final field we're going to create is going to be a formula field. And I'll show you why we're creating this in a second. But this is basically going to pull and the year that this particular appointment was the call date for that appointment. You can see we're pulling in the date format from the call date, and we're going to show the month and the year. So you can see this is the output that this formula is going to give you. And then we're going to create the field. And then now what we're going to do is we're actually going to create our analytics dashboard. And that's going to be basically the reason we created this formula. Let's go and let's click on add or import. Now let's start from scratch. We'll call this sales analytics. And then we'll create this table, and then I'm going to just delete these fields here. The first thing that we want to do is we want to actually link the sales call tracking table to the sales analytic table so that we can bring in fields. We can let those two tables speak to each other. I'm going to click add field, and we're going to link to another record, select the sales call tracking, link to sales. I'm going to create this field, and we don't need to see this field. We can just hide it. And then what I'm going to do here, I'm going to change the primary field to year. The first field that I'm going to create here is going to be a count field. Basically, this is going to be the number of calls booked in whatever month we're tracking in. So I'm going to create that, and then we're going to say this is any status that is not empty. We're going to create that. Since it is now June 2024, I'm going to type in June 2024, and you can see right now it's showing 0 calls booked. So to get our calls booked that are from June 2024 to show up in this sales analytics table, what I need to do is I need to go to my sales call tracking table, and I need to have the month in here. So let me show you what this looks like. We're linking these two tables together. So we need to identify which calls are being booked in June 2024. So I can either come in here manually and click on this plus sign and then select it. And then you can see, go to sales analytics. Now it's showing 1 call booked. That's going to be kind of a hassle. So I want to automate this process. That's why I created this formula with the month plus year, because we're going to take this and we're going to create an automation automatically populates June 2024 in our sales sales analytics field so that we can now push it over to our sales analytics table. I hope that makes sense. So let's go to automations, create a new automation. The trigger is going to be when a record is created. The table is going to be when a new record is created in the sales call tracking. So when an appointment is booked, we can choose the record here. That's the only appointment in our table right now. The action is going to be update record. We're going to choose this sales call tracking table. We're going to find the record ID, which is the one from the new record created. This is the Airtable ID. So that's what the record is going to be updating. The field that we're going to update now is going to be the sales analytics field that now links to our sales analytics dashboard. We're going to click into this plus here, and then we're going to find this formula field that we created that gives us the month plus the year. So I'm going to select that. When a new record is created or an appointment is booked, basically what's going to happen is that formula is now going to update the sales analytics field so that we can now track it, show up in our sales analytics dashboard. So let's run that, and let's take a look at what our appointment looks like right now. And now if we run it, it should update that with the sales analytics. And now if we go over to sales analytics dashboard, we can see that one call has been booked. So let's head back over to our automation, and I'm going to name this update sales analytic with month plus year. I'm going to turn that on. Now what we can actually do is we can actually test it. I'm going to go over to our HighLevel account. I'm going to click new appointment, and then I'm going to type in my name. I'm going to book an appointment. And now if we head over to our table, that appointment should populate, and then the sales analytics field should also populate. Okay, so finally it populated. Took a little bit, but it finally populated. Now we should see in sales analytics is 2 calls booked, and we do. Now let's go in here and let's play with some of this data. Let's actually book another call. Let's go to our table. We should see the appointment come in. We should see the sales analytics populate. I'll give that a second. That was a little bit faster that time. Let's actually act like we've taken these calls. So let's say that one of these calls was a no-show. So let's say that this one was a no-show. Let's say that this one canceled. Now those should populate in here. So we got a no-show. This one should update to canceled. Okay. But now you can see that this is actually working. Let's say that this one that showed, we made an offer and made a sale. So these didn't show up, so we can't make offers on those. So let's now go to the revenue, and let's say this was a $10,000 sale. How about that? Cash collected was $5,000. All right, so now let's head over to our sales analytics dashboard and let's build this thing out even further. Add another field here, and we want to do another count field. Calls complete. So these are the calls that have actually happened or were no-show or whatever the case may be. So this is going to be status is any of canceled, no-show, or showed. We're going to create that field. 3 out of 3 were complete. Then we're going to have another count, and this is going to be the appointments that showed. Only include records that meet certain conditions. So this is going to be status is showed. So we can see only one of those showed, right? All right. So now we're going to do another count, and this is going to be offers made, and we're going to only include linked records that meet certain conditions. So this is going to be offers made is yes. Of the calls that were live, how many of those calls did we make offers to? That's really going to tell us the quality of the people on the call, whether they're qualified or not. And then the next thing that we're going to do is now we're going to start showing our rates, or like our percentages. So first one we're going to do is going to be show rate. And then this is going to be a formula. So I'm going to type in formula. We are going to divide the number of calls that showed divided by number of calls booked. And then that's going to be our show rate. Let's actually edit that field. Formatting is going to be a percentage. So that's going to be 33%. So 1 out of 3 showed. So we got a 30% show up rate. Not very good. But then what we're going to do is we're going to do offer rate. And this is going to show us the quality of the calls. So we're going to type formula here. It's going to be, let's see, that's going to be offers made divided by showed. And that's going to give us our offer rate. So again, we're going to edit this field, change the formatting to percent, and that's 100%. So good quality people just not showing up. We've got to do, this is going to be a count. So let's call this 1 deals. And then this is going to be only linked records that meet certain conditions. And this is going to be the result is a sale. So the number of deals that were closed. Now we can have our close rate. So let's move that over here. And then now let's do a formula. This is the close percentage 1 deals divided by calls showed. So of the people that showed, how many deals did we want? That's going to be 100% too. Then we can actually format this field again to make it a percentage. All right, so this is pretty cool. Look at this. So we've got number of calls booked, number of calls complete, how many showed, how many offers made, 1 deals. And then we've got our show rate, we've got our offer rate, and we've got our close rate. Add our revenue. So we can do, this can be a roll-up field. So we're just pulling in the number from the sales call tracking. So we're going to call this new revenue. And then what we're going to do is choose the field that we want to bring in, the sum of the values. So it's going to aggregate all of the ones that are in June 2024. We're going to create that field. It should say 10,000. And then we're going to do another roll-up field for cash collected. Use the field cash collected here. Create that field. We've got a sales dashboard. We can actually build out a pretty dashboard where we actually see graphs and all that kind of stuff, make it even prettier. But right now we've got a pretty strong tracking dashboard here. Let's play around with this just for a second. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to change one of these. Let's say that this one actually showed up. So let's look at our numbers right now. So you've got 3 calls booked, 3 calls complete, 1 showed, and then 1 offer made, 1 deal. So the show rate was really low. Offer rate was 100%. Close rate was 100%. And then we've got our new revenue and cash collected. Let's play around with these calls over here. So let's just say this one showed, and this was an offer was made, and then the sale was made. The revenue was, let's just say 3,000, and the cash collected was 3,000. Now we should have 13,000 in revenue, and we should have 8,000 cash collected, and we should have changed our show rate. Everything else should kind of stay the same, except for the number of calls that actually showed. Let's go to sales analytics. We've got 3 calls booked, 3 calls complete, 2 showed now, so that should increase the show rate. 2 offers made, 1 deals, so we got 67% show up right now. 100% offers made, 100% closed. So we got 13,000 in revenue, and we've got 8,000 cash collected. So this is freaking awesome. Now that you have this set up, I know it took a little bit of time and effort to set up, but now you've got a dashboard that you can easily look at and understand whether your sales call process is actually working, and also where the bottlenecks are in the process. And if you want to get your hands on this Airtable already pre-created for you, all you have to do is join our community. I'll drop the link in the description. And if you like this video, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next one.